Welcome to the weekly news around Bali and Asia. My name is Bruce Pullman, and I'm going to be talking about the news every week. These are short newscasts about topics of interest to those of us that live or visit Bali or Asia. I'll be covering all of Asia and maybe a little bit in Melanesia, another of my interest. And I'm an anthropologist. This newscast is coming to you from the Peripatetic Anthropologist YouTube channel. Welcome to the weekly news around Bali and Asia. My name is Bruce Pullman. This is for the week of February 3rd, and here in Singaraja it's a slightly overcast and a hot day, 30.3 degrees Celsius at 12:40 p.m. And on for the news for this week. First, just as last week, is the coronavirus. The coronavirus continues to spread rapidly. According to the China Daily today, there are 20,438 confirmed cases and 425 deaths. And the world is reacting strongly. Here in Indonesia, the government says that we have no confirmed cases. We have no cases, apparently, at this time. Nonetheless, flights from China have been banned, just as they have in many other countries, including the United States. And visas are no longer being offered for Chinese citizens or anyone that has been in China for 14 days. So China is becoming increasingly isolated in the world. However, there's some good news. According to reports, a doctor in Thailand has administered what's called a cocktail of drugs, including flu and HIV drugs, to a Chinese patient who recovered and now tests negative for the virus. So, that's a good sign. But we continue to get reports of cases, new cases in Korea, new cases in the United States, is feeling the impact of the travel bans. According to the Bali Discovery and Jakarta Post, the Bali Kintamani 2020 festival that was scheduled for February 8th has been canceled. This festival is planned to increase Chinese tourist arrivals to Bali, and especially up in the area of Kintamani. The function was to include a cultural parade highlighting Balinese and Chinese culture and the connection between the two. It sounded like it was going to be quite fascinating. There was a festival last year, but the festival's been canceled due to the coronavirus. And according to the Jakarta Post, 10,000 Chinese tourists have canceled trips to Bali already because of the virus. The chairwoman of the Indonesian travel agent Association said that the cancellations were both ways. People from Indonesia going to China and people from China coming here. Many of these trips have been canceled because of the number of airlines that no longer will fly into China or out of China. And according to the spokeswoman, the Chinese are the #2 in foreign tourist arrivals in Indonesia, just after Malaysia, which is #1, and the Chinese tourists account for 13% of all foreign visitors in Indonesia. And continuing on with the economic impacts of the coronavirus and tourism, a story from the Jakarta Post noted that the Bali Tourism Agency held a major prayer session asking that Bali remain safe from the virus. And according to the Bali chapter of the Association of Indonesian Tour and Travel Agencies, a spokesperson said that at least 15,000 tourists have canceled their trips to Bali in the month of February. So we're feeling the economic impact. The Chinese are the number one in foreign tourist arrivals to Bali. Let's take a look at crime. Hate to say it, but people like to call Bali paradise. There is some crime in paradise, and apparently the Bulgarians are at it again. This is from Coconut Bali, and according to Coconuts Bali, 2 Bulgarians were arrested for alleged skimming, ATM skimming in Canggu. Canggu is, of course, one of the hotspots for foreign tourists, especially the Instagrammers and vloggers, and it's also become a center for a lot of crime. And these 2 Bulgarians, not the first, as I'll mention shortly, were caught removing a hidden camera from an ATM in Canggu, and the police said that they're investigating a possible skimming network of Bulgarians. And why? Well, because recently, just last month, 3 Bulgarians were sentenced to 7 months in prison for attempting ATM skimming scheme, and 7 months is not very long, considering that the maximum sentence is 8 years if convicted. And so, what can we draw from this lesson? Watch which ATMs you're using. It's best to use those inside of banks or outside of banks where there are 24-hour security arrangements, such as cameras and all-night guards. You have to be safe. ATM skimming is a major problem here, especially in the tourist areas like Canggu, and Ubud has had its fair share as well, Kuta, Legion. And there was a report, and maybe I'll talk about this next week, and Ahmed. There's been some online chatter in Facebook forums about some dodgy ATMs in Ahmed. And let's look at something, end this up for today with some good news. Yeah, this is some good news for residents of, where else? Canggu, who are disturbed by the loud music coming out of restaurants, bars, and cafes in the area. there was a raid a few days ago of 9 of these establishments in the Canggu area, and a noise and ID inspection were conducted. The raid was in response to complaints from nearby residents and owners of hotels, owners and managers of hotels and villas, who said that their guests were complaining that it was impossible to sleep at night because of the loud music coming from these establishments. And the police said that they agreed that they were in fact found to be staying open as late as 3 a.m. And I believe closing time in that area is 11. And some of the targeted bars included the famous Old Man's and Beach Bums. So, the results of that, the owners of these establishments were given warnings and have been invited to police headquarters next week to be given some instruction in how to follow the law and not disturb local residents. And so, if you're a person who is bothered by some of the really loud music that comes from some of these places, good news for you, and we'll follow up on this and see if there's actually been any improvement. And so that's it for this week. If you have any comments, please leave them below. Any news that you would like me to cover, again, leave something below. And that's it for today, and have a good week. Stay safe. Happy travels.